Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, I showed off some gameplay of Elsa Bloodstone. My thoughts on it? Provided that you can get in and out quickly. I wasn't able to do it that well because lag on a custom game. They really need to fix. I heard apparently that, at least on console, the servers for consoles have some kind of bug that make it extra laggy, and they really need to fix that somehow. I don't know how true that is though, but nonetheless, Elsa is pretty fun to play, got some good potential with combos. You just need to be quick on the draw with her abilities, and more importantly, when you're aiming, you really got to make your shots count with that shotgun. Because that shotgun is armor piercing. It does good damage. So anyway, today, yeah, we're going to read her lore story. There are two new lore entries. Elsa's and someone else, but that's for later. For now, let's just focus on Elsa. Elsa Bloodstone. Born into a line of legendary monster hunters, Elsa boasts incredible physical prowess and an innate talent for subduing the creepiest of creatures. The instinct to hunt is in her blood, and every foe she faces inevitably becomes prey, ensnared in her traps. All I got is just the Icy Edge one, but this is referred to as young blood, which I'm assuming is during her her training years, because before she inherited the Bloodstone, she was blonde, and then once she did, it turned her hair red. Red sticks out like a sore thumb in the snow, while my quarry blends right in, so I best learn to disappear too. But your hair is still red. That's her signature. That is not even a signature. That is just literally the Bloodstone family emblem, crest, whatever you want to call it. Okay then. Born into a long line of monster hunters, Elsa Bloodstone uses her mystical blood gem to boost her strength and longevity. I think it's givity. As she attempts to live up to her family's proud legacy. After what seemed like an eternity hunting demons and monsters in her own collapsing timeline, Elsa was recruited by the Collector to capture rare and dangerous creatures from other realities. When her new partner, Deadpool, went rogue, Elsa was sent to restore order, only to discover that Deadpool had unleashed all the monsters in the Collector's museum. What fun! Let's see. Special delivery! I'm not even going to attempt to do her British accent, but still. This is all your fault, Wade. That sounds more Australian than British, so yeah, I'm not going to try. This is all your fault, Wade, Elsa said with a scowl as she examined the broken glass and bullet shells littering the corridors of the gallery. Funny, Deadpool said, his voice labored. I was just about to say the same thing to you. Me? Elsa said, barely holding back an angry laugh. You're the one who set loose some of the deadliest creatures in the known universe, love. Well, sure, Deadpool sheepishly admitted. That part's definitely on me. I had a good reason. Creating a diversion so that your ex-girlfriend and her husband can steal a priceless artifact from our employer's private gallery is not a good reason, Elsa replied. It is if you're me, Deadpool said with a shrug. Of course, I could come up with a good explanation for almost all of my most misguided escapades. Except maybe this one. Deadpool looked down at the tiny broodling nestled in his arms. The insectoid alien may have appeared terrifying at first glance, but it clearly meant no harm. In fact, it seemed completely enamored with the red and black clad mercenary holding it. and he knew exactly why. Moments earlier, just before Elsa had reached the heart of the chaos in the collector's gallery, Deadpool had accidentally gotten himself skewered by the tale of a vicious brood queen. As he learned from reading decades worth of X-Men comics, a brood queen can implant an embryo inside of the abdomen of its victims. In most cases, the embryo cells rapidly replace the original cells of the host, essentially transforming them into a new broodling. But Deadpool's hyperactive healing factor had caused the process to take a far less traditional turn. Unable to replace his cells and transform him into a broodling, the embryo instead seemed to be growing inside of Deadpool at an alarming rate. Deadpool's entire stomach was undulating, as if the creature inside of him was desperately trying to claw its way out. Fortunately for him, Elsa was on the scene. Unfortunately, however, she wasn't terribly fond of her partner and seemed far more focused on making sure that the Brood Queen didn't harm anyone else. To be fair, hunting monsters was her job, but still. Elsa leapt into the shadowy corner of the gallery where the Brood Queen was hiding. Deadpool was impressed as she effortlessly unloaded a hail of concussive blasts from her shotgun, causing the Brood Queen to squeal in pain. With a quick slash of its talons, the wounded alien knocked Elsa back, sending her flying down the gallery corridor and onto the glass wall of an empty display case. Deadpool knew that Elsa couldn't face this threat alone, but he was in no condition to help. As if things didn't look grim enough, that's exactly when a giant red dinosaur, one of the many captive creatures that Deadpool had unleashed during his ill-advised escape assist, stormed down the corridor directly towards Elsa, and it did not seem thrilled. Apparently, though, Elsa had encountered dozens of species of dinosaurs during her childhood while on family vacations to the Savage Land, so she knew exactly how to tame these ferocious beasts. Just when it looked as if the dinosaur was about to swallow her whole, Elsa gracefully leapt onto its back, mounting it like a steed and guiding it toward the Brood Queen. The Brood Queen prepared to attack, but Elsa and her chaotic companion moved with a speed and power that the aliens simply couldn't rival. With a swift chomp of the dinosaur's mighty jaw, the Brood Queen was flung through the sky before collapsing unconscious, leaving Elsa to deal with something even more disturbing. Good to know that that devil dinosaur can help out. Elsa returned her attention to Deadpool, who was clutching his Oh god, hold on. Oh my, I gotta untangle these wires here. I almost got my leg caught onto my headset cord. Okay, let me read that again. Elsa returned her attention to Deadpool, who was clutching his distended belly in tremendous pain. Even though they didn't always see eye to eye, Deadpool knew that Elsa wasn't going to let him die. Or at least that's what he thought. Until she pulled out a huge ceremonial dagger, Deadpool instantly passed out. When he regained consciousness, Deadpool saw a tiny broodling skittering across the gallery floor as it let out a high-pitched squeal. Elsa had drawn her somber steel shotgun, expecting the hatchling to instinctively defend its injured mother. But Deadpool begged Elsa not to shoot. As soon as the creature heard Deadpool's voice, it scampered back to the disoriented mercenary and nuzzled up against him, comforting its father as he healed from the physical and emotional trauma he had just experienced. This day had taken yet another turn that neither Deadpool nor Elsa would ever have expected, and it wouldn't be the last. "Wade, are you okay?" Elsa asked the unusually silent Deadpool. Oh, yeah, sorry, Deadpool said, snapping out of his haze. I was, I was just having a flashback. A quick flashback for the kids who didn't read the gallery cards. Of course you were, Elsa said, clearly annoyed by Deadpool's nonsensical explanation. Even more proof that I should have left you to die after what you pulled here. You know I didn't have a choice, Deadpool insisted. Like you said, Rogue got herself into some deep trouble, and she used to be my boo. I couldn't let the Collector hurt her. So that means you actually do have a soul, Elsa said, a tinge of surprise in her voice. After all of the innocent beings you've gathered up for the Collector to put on display, I wasn't so sure. Hey, I was saving them from their dying timelines, lady, Deadpool exclaimed. If I didn't bring them here, they were just gonna vanish along with their home realities. I was actually doing something noble, thank you very much. Unlike some of us who just spent their lives slaughtering monsters to impress their daddies. My father trained me to survive, Elsa snapped back, and it was a bloody good thing he did, because when my reality fell apart, I had to fight my way across entire continents overtaken by angry beasties, and nobody showed up in a magic school bus to save me. You weren't on my route, Deadpool said in a failed attempt to break the rising tension. But here's the thing, Elsa continued. My father was cold and cruel. He devoted every waking moment to eliminating supernatural threats, and I had become just like him, for better or for worse. At least for a while. Wait, are you going to have a flashback now too? Deadpool asked, excited. Sweet. But Elsa never heard Deadpool's words. Her mind had already drifted back to her own timeline, and the strange journey that had eventually led her here. When Elsa's timeline collapsed, all hell broke loose, though hell's was more apropos. At first, she spent her days fighting tirelessly against endless hordes of monsters and demons that had been unleashed as part of an epic war between ancient gods. But she soon discovered that there were far too many monsters on the prowl for even a seasoned hunter like herself to handle alone. For the first time in her long life, the creatures of the night were winning the battle, and the hunter was becoming the hunted. So Elsa retreated to Bloodstone Manor. Elsa and her brother Cullen had been the only two residing there since their father's death, and Cullen had mostly kept to himself since he had became unwillingly soul-bound. He became unwillingly soul-bounded to a vicious extra-dimensional parasite called the Glartrox. While tending to Cullen, whose resistance to the Glartrox was steadily weakening, Elsa kept scouring her father's journals for any possible advantage that might help her eliminate the creatures overtaking her reality. Little did she expect that the greatest advantage of all would one day come knocking at her door. He arrived at the main gate of Bloodstone Manor, dirty and disheveled, but it was instantly clear to Elsa, even in his unkempt state, that this was more than just a man. He said he was an outsider, banished from his home by his brother, who needed shelter until he could recover from his wounds and regain his strength. He claimed that a mutual friend, Bruce Banner, had sent him to Bloodstone Manor, knowing that its owners would offer him safe haven. Elsa took the stranger in. After all, though she had hunted the Hulk long ago, she had come to trust Banner and the small network of surviving heroes he had cultivated. As the stranger began to recover, Elsa soon realized who he truly was. She had read all about him in her father's journals. Thor Odinson, the Asgardian god of thunder. She knew Thor would be a valuable ally in her quest to purge the world of monsters. He immediately proved Elsa correct when he offered to help her sever the connection between Cullen and the Glartrox. He claimed that he too had a younger brother who he would protect at any cost, no matter how sinister his siblings' actions might be. Elsa immediately accepted Thor's offer. For far too long, the Glartrox had fed on Cullen's negative emotions and caused the poor boy unspeakable strife. Channeling the Odin force that remained within him, Thor broke the parasitic bond, freeing Cullen from the pain he had shouldered for so many years. But the Glartrox was not about to go hungry. It was determined to find a new host. But before it could attach itself to Elsa, she trapped it within Mordred's causeway. It was a struggle controlling the beast at first, but Elsa would soon discover that the Glartrox was just as happy feeding on the fear of her enemies as it had been feeding on Cullen's rage and self-doubt. Once Thor's strength was fully restored, Elsa expected him to take his leave, but after seeing the state of his beloved Midgard, Thor instead decided to repay Elsa's hospitality by helping her map out what was left of her world and smiting every savage beast along the way. Together, Elsa and Thor wandered the globe, charting the wastelands and slaying all monsters in their path. But even with a god and a Glartrox by her side, not every battle ended in glorious victory. When the duo encountered two demons locked in battle near a small European village, they did what they believed was right and killed them both. Elsa was sure they saved the townsfolk from a gruesome fate, but what she didn't know that one of those demons had been protecting the village from its murderous kin. When she and Thor passed through the village again weeks later, they found it in ruins. Not a single survivor. The Thunder God placed his massive hand on her back as she stared in silence. The two beings, cursed to outlive most, were a comfort to one another, each learning valuable lessons along the way. For Elsa, that lesson went against everything her father had ever taught her. Just like people, not all monsters are the same. They're all not bad, and they don't all deserve to die. Elsa had always believed that the Glartrox was a curse, and ultimately it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. If given the chance, she wondered, could other creatures that she would have once slaughtered without a moment's hesitation prove worthy of a second chance as well? It was a question that would shake her to her very core, one that would change not only her fate, but the fate of the creatures she had sworn to hunt. That was an emotional roller coaster, Deadpool exclaimed, as if he was somehow aware of the memories that just flooded Elsa's mind. All that awesome action followed by important life lessons, just like a cartoon from the 80s. Remember, kids, drink your milk, stay in school, and don't do drugs, because winners don't use drugs. Elsa stared at Deadpool, unsure of how to respond to his incoherent ramblings. But as she watched the broodling coo affectionately in his arms, she reminded herself of what her journey had taught her. Not all monsters are bad, Elsa said quietly. Are you talking about him? Deadpool asked, pointing to the little brood with his free hand. Or me? Both, Elsa replied, her grim demeanor beginning to soften. Suddenly, the alien's chirps and squeals started to form into what sounded like words. Dad! Cool, it seemed to growl. Deadpool squealed with delight and hugged the broodling tighter. You're gonna need a name, little guy, Deadpool said. thinking Brood Pool, or maybe Wade Jr. More importantly, Elsa chimed in, it's going to need a home. So are all of the creatures that you set free. That's a good point, Deadpool said. We can't just let the Collector put them back into cages. Do you happen to work with any monster rescue shelters? The human world has no idea what to do with their kind, Elsa said. It'll take someone special to claim responsibility and make sure they have what they need. Not just to survive, but to thrive. Someone to unite them, to lead them and protect them, and to teach them how to protect themselves from a world that hates and fears them. You know that's the X-Men's tagline, right? Deadpool asked. But I get your point. It's a good thing you're here, Gubna, 'cause you're the perfect girl for the job. Actually, Elsa responded, I had someone else in mind. Really? Deadpool said, looking frantically around the room for whoever Elsa might be talking about. I'm not sure the telepathic space dog is up for that kind of pressure. I meant you, Wade, Elsa said, much to Deadpool's surprise. I can't think of anyone else in the world who could better understand such a group of outsiders and misfits. Thanks, I think, Deadpool said, but I could barely take care of myself. How am I supposed to rule some sort of monster kingdom? The only way any of us could, Elsa responded earnestly, one day at a time. And if they tried to eat me, Deadpool asked, I wouldn't blame them, Elsa jested, but even so, it's probably not anything personal. Some monsters just need a little extra understanding. Do you think I could be the one to give them that? Deadpool asked. That's the hope, Elsa said. Won't be easy. After all, there are still days the Glartrox gives in to its darkest impulses. Don't we all? Deadpool agreed. But if you give a monster the chance to make the right choice, I bet you'll be surprised by how things turned out. You're talking about them and me again, aren't you? Deadpool asked. You better believe it, love, Elsa replied with a cheeky grin. You know what? Deadpool said, looking at the baby broodling wiggling in his arms. For the first time in a long time, I think I actually do. Alright, well, that was Elsa's first lore story. That was a surprisingly wholesome kind of story. Hold on, people. I need to pause for a sec. Okay, unpaused. So, yeah, that was a very surprisingly kind of wholesome story, as I'll call it. Because, like, just the way it ended with Deadpool, like, more or less becoming a father in the weirdest way possible to a broodling, but also accepting the idea from Elsa that, yeah, maybe I can become a leader for all of these beasts and form the Monster Kingdom, which, with Deadpool mentioning the gallery cards thing, yeah, there's only, 3 of them left, so as soon as I can acquire them, yeah, we can read them and get the better full story of it, but this also means that because Elsa had Thor helped her out, this means that this connects to the Thor lore story reread long ago. This, which also means that either Thor is from the timeline of the collapsing reality where the war between gods and demons are, or he was transported there. I haven't read the lore story for so long that I forgot if Yigsgard was part of that reality or if Thor just got transported to it. Whatever the case, but I still need to know the context of, like, Thor joining up with Banner. Because at least in Banner's lore story, that at least confirms that he is from this timeline. I mean, I'm telling you, all the lore stories of all the characters are interconnected in some way or form. That's just all I could say. They're all interconnected. And it's a good thing everything is interconnected, because it makes the impact of the big finish even better. Well, alrighty then. That will... Well, let me look at the time. Actually, no, I won't end it just yet. There are some new team-ups. We're going to read them. We've already read this one between with Deadpool and Elsa. Did they add an additional thing? Oh, no. Okay, so new one. For starters, they removed the Fantastic Four's team up of all four of them together. But to make up for it, though, they have new team ups with different members now. Now my question is, does Johnny... No, Johnny does not have his team up with Peter. Okay, he still has it with Ben, so at least Johnny still has a team up with someone. So let's read the new little team ups thing. So, Psionic Mayhem. Where are these creatures coming from, Susan? Doctor Strange asked as he conjured another magical barricade. Subterranea, Susan replied. They're moloids, the minions of the Mole Man. They usually keep to their underground kingdom, don't bother anyone. With all of the construction that Fisk is doing in Lower Manhattan, they must have felt threatened. And now they're attacking in hordes, Strange replied. Just how many of these moloids are there? We've never been able to get a solid count, Susan said, but Reed estimates it could be in the billions. I'm afraid the shields of the Seraphim may not be adequate to hold them back that many, Strange said. My shields are, Susan said with confidence. She put a hand to her temple and focused, and an oncoming group of moloids suddenly stopped in their tracks, unable to advance or retreat. It was as if they were confined within transparent walls. Impressive, Strange said. If you can draw them closer to me, I may have another spell that could shift the winds in our favor. Susan manipulated her force field to drag the moloids toward the Sorcerer Supreme, who was already busy casting a powerful spell, the Maelstrom of Madness. As the creatures were swept up in the chaos, Susan held them in place with her shields. Yet, despite being trapped in the violent tempest, the moloids refused to surrender. They are stronger than they look, Dr. Strange said. Perhaps we need another plan. No, Stephen, Susan replied. We just need to weather this storm together to the very end. With that, Susan released all of her psionic energy, causing a powerful explosion within the mystical maelstrom. When the winds settled, all the moloids lay defeated at last.
Power beyond sight. Power beyond sight.
Okay, how does it work?
Ionic magic.
Okay, based on the explosion's damage, Strange and allies will gain bonus health. So I'm assuming... Oh!
Ionic magic.
Okay, so the Maelstrom of Madness spell is replaced with this. So at max power, not only are you gonna pull enemies towards you and do good damage to them, you will gain a bit of bonus health. If allies are nearby, they will gain bonus health. And depending on how low enough that their health is, you can then just follow up with your ult
Ionic magic.
and use your melee attacks to finish them off. That's actually pretty neat. Next we have the Gamma Charge. This time, this time Ben is involved. Oh, hold on. Okay, there. My mic unplugged as always. I thought Daredevil said he took out all these losers, the thing grumbled as he punched yet another sword-wielding ninja with his rocky fist. A cult like the Hand always has more disciples in waiting, Black Panther replied, furiously slashing his claws at his red-hooded attackers. And they seem desperate to reclaim the power they once held in their collapsing timeline. Hulk doesn't care what stupid sword guys want, Hulk said, but Hulk knows what they'll get. Clobbered? Thing asked with a smile. Smashed! Hulk bellowed as he hit the ground with his giant fist, knocking several ninjas off balance. Same diff, Thing said, rushing in and beating down the disoriented ninjas with his bare knuckles. Why does Ben always get the best? Like, anytime I read something that has Ben involved, there's always something funny, and I get the best mental images in my head. Like, when he was being bitten by vampires, but yet they kept breaking their teeth on him, and now in this one, just him and Hulk teaming up with Black Panther to fight ninjas, which sounds really weird and out of context. Once the battle was over, the Thing looked down at his aching fist. His rocky hide had been sliced to the point where the outer layer was beginning to peel away. You are hurt, my friend, the Black Panther said. Guess the swords of theirs are sharper than I thought, Thing said, trying to shake off the pain. You must take time to recover, Panther insisted. We can handle the fight from here. Thing said. I ain't never thrown in the towel before. Not gonna start now, 'cause I got a few scrapes. I trust your judgment, Panther responded reluctantly. Hulk doesn't, Hulk said. Grimm's always been stupid and ugly. Look who's talking, green jeans, Thing chuckled. But Hulk is smart, Hulk continued. Hulk can give Grimm some of his gamma energy to heal Grimm's hands and make him stronger. Stronger than you? Thing asked, raising a rocky eyebrow. Never! Hulk snarled. Hulk is the strongest there is. We will see about that, pal, Thing said as the next wave of hand ninjas leapt into action. 'Cause it's smashing time! Oh, he's got good voice. It's Gamma time. Okay, yeah, this is T'Challa's. So when you get weakened, a brief Gamma shield will pop up to like save you there. But I think, I might be wrong, I think it either stays up continuously or it stays up as long as he's still being attacked. I don't know. Let's look at the Gamma gauntlets.
Gamma gloves.
Oh, so he's got better range on them. Okay.
Gamma gloves.
It's Gamma time! Okay. Now we have the Rocket Network, which includes Reed as part of it. Thank you for letting me use your ship for this data collection mission, Mr. Fantastic said. No prob, Reed, Star-Lord replied. The Milano was built for deep space exploration. Was it built to withstand a quantum asteroid belt? Reed asked. Of course, Quill responded. I mean, probably. Well, honestly, I'm not sure. Why? 'Cause we're about to find out, Rocket yelled as he raced into the cockpit. I was just following Reed's coordinates, Quill insisted, as he and Rocket maneuvered the ship through the field of space rocks. I must have made a minor miscalculation, Reed admitted. Well, that minor miscalculation's about to become a major disaster, Rocket exclaimed. A giant meteor headed straight toward the spacecraft. The Milano rapidly descended, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision, but the meteor impacted the top of the hull, creating a giant gaping hole in the ceiling above them. Without a thought, Reed stretched his body wide enough to cover the breach. Okay, Quill said a few minutes later. The shields are on. You can relax now. No, I can't, Reed replied. The prolonged exposure to the vacuum of space has left part of my body frozen solid. If I tried to return to my normal shape now, there's no telling how much trauma my physiology might suffer. I got just the thing you need, Rocket said, rummaging through his gadgets. This elasticity amplifier I built should enhance your flexibility under extreme conditions. It might even come in handy later. Thank you, Rocket, Reed said, activating the device and instantly restoring his body to its natural state. You are truly the genius everyone says you are. Hear that, Quill? Rocket said proudly. If this guy says I'm a genius, it must be true. Time to start treating me like one. So, how does it work for Reed? Oh, so Reed removing his limit. Oh. Alright, hold on. So, when you use... Oh, it's going to focus on Reed's. So, I see. Okay. When you use it, you can inflate whenever you want. Yeah, you can enlarge whenever you want, but it uses up the percentage that you have. So what you can probably do is get close to maxing out and then using it early. Like, yeah, based on what I can see, a good idea is to soften your enemies up with it. Build up to maybe 50 to 90%. And then use it to finish your enemies off. It's kind of smart. And then for Star-Lord, it's a teleportation device. You just leave it there. You walk a certain amount of distance, and then you use it to pop back to it. I don't think it has a limit to its range. Alrighty then. That will do for this episode of Marvel Rivals. After just having to read Elsa's, I didn't expect to read the others. Join me next time as we read another lore story. They added another lore story, and it would be for Mantis. So, that is it, and I will see you guys next time.